So I'm with my guest, Phill Diaz, who is co-creator of Zaidcomics, and that might be a good starting point, is where the name Zaidcomic came from.
Oh, that's pretty easy. It's my last name spelled backwards. So not a lot of people know that when they first meet me, and then they have like this epiphany once they figure it out, and they're like, "What?" Yeah.
Uh, and so it's a comic company you created with your brother.
Yeah. We did, man, back in like 2010, 2011, we made very unique and probably not good comics. Um, we didn't know how to draw we didn't know anyone that could draw. So we would take pictures in front of a green screen at my work and then sometimes in my garage at my house with our friends and make it look like a comic. But my brother would Photoshop the images. I would panel out everything beforehand, like storyboard it, and then we would take the images, shop them up, uh, sometimes use like 3D backgrounds um, and like effects in like After Effects for explosions and stuff like that. It was fun. We did that for a couple issues and went to some old school Wizard World conventions and sold them there.
So it was like a collage comic almost.
Yeah, almost. I wish I had. Do I have a copy? I wish I had something close I could show you.
Mm.
But it turned out pretty cool and we sold them at conventions. The only thing that really got in the way of continuing that is scheduling people to come in to do the shoots. And it took
Hmm.
a really long, it was a long process. And then after going to, having a heavier schedule once I started to work and go to college, it kind of like fell through. But that's actually the first iteration of the Silhouette, who's one of
Uh-huh.
our star characters from the Lost Pages. That's where that whole universe, was conceived, was through those original issues of the Silhouette.
Nice. And you said that was 2010 or
Yeah, it was 2011. I think I have it
2011?
here. I have a bunch of stuff. Yeah, here we go. So we did an issue 0, which actually had an illustrated um, cover,
Okay.
illustrated by an old friend, and inside is us, in front of the green screen, and then this is the official. That was like a preview issue. This is the official issue 1, the Silhouette, and that's
Yes.
my Silhouette. I I played the Silhouette back in the day, so
Which,
it's
when I was
fun.
looking at the Lost Pages, I was looking at the free digital sample.
Hmm.
That is a clever superhero name because one of the things that they teach in college with comics is the silhouette test. If they
Hmm.
pass the silhouette test, then you have a good design.
Right, right, yeah.
Is that where that came from, or?
Yeah, well, I love characters. I love the shadow, right? And
Hmm.
the way that the Silhouette was conceived was just like my brother and I making a joke, because the shadow, he could, cloud men's minds to make himself appear as a shadow. And I'm like, what if there was a character that was always a shadow and he could never turn back into a human form? Like, what would the downside to that be? And how ridiculous would that be? And so that's how we came up with the Silhouette. And since this iteration, the first appearance stuff, the character's changed quite a bit, like backstory wise. And he's much more serious now than he was in the old comics, or was meant to be perceived as. But yeah, that's kind of how, I mean, that's how the company started back then.
That's very cool. And then, where you worked, was that at the arcade or was that a different place?
No, yeah, that was at the Galloping Ghost Arcade. We still work there. And back in the day, it opened up in 2010. They had like almost film studio green screen in the back of the arcade. That's since been renovated and expanded so we could put more games in there. It's integrated as part of the arcade floor now. But that's where we filmed a lot of the shoots for the old Silhouette book.
It's really cool. And was it called the Galloping Ghost because it's haunted? Or
No, we found out about that later. No,
Mm.
no, it's that's just the name that my boss went with.
Oh, okay. So chronologically, how did your stories happen? So you had the silhouette first, and
Yeah.
then was it the Lost Pages and then Magic Cop or and
No,
Crimstone?
no. So, it's funny because the silhouette was the base, like the first thing that we've ever came up with together. And from then, on like the break of actually publishing the photographed comics, I had come up with a bunch of different characters that were eventually I wanted to interact with the silhouette. So Matte Black, she actually appears in issue one of the silhouette. So she was, probably the second character we came up with. We came up with, and there's a handful of other ones in the Lost Pages. Here's Matte Black from back in the day.
Okay.
Her. Most of the main players in the Lost Pages were conceived at that time when we were working on the silhouette. But we had since taken a break. And during when I was in community college, I was taking a bunch of writing classes and I would actually write stories about the characters to kind of flesh them out in my mind before we did any more like sequential comics with them. Then working at the arcade for so long, the Magic Cop idea came about when one day Brandon, my brother, was working on some graphic design for a side-scrolling beat 'em up arcade game, and he couldn't think of what the game was called when my boss asked him, and he just spat out Magic Cop, and it just sounds like a perfect like bad dudes or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like side-scrolling beat 'em up game that popped into his head, and we're like that would be a perfect for uh, a game. So we actually started working on it and mapping out how the game would progress, having the bosses and the boss battles and stuff like that. Had like four main characters, and when we saw the success of crowdfunding in independent comics, we wanted to try our hand at it. And Magic Cop was basically our foot in the door, like dipping our toe in the water. My brother illustrated it, and well, that campaign we raised I think like $14,000 after from the start of funding till shipping out. So that was so cool to see that our first time jumping in there, we were able to do that, and then we were like, okay, this could work. So let's get back to the silhouette and all those characters, and that's where we came up with the Lost Pages title.
That's very cool. And then I know for a while you were crowdfunding Crimstone too, and then that one's coming into a crossover with Psycho Slumberland.
Right. Yeah. So Krim is was another one of those characters that we had come up with during like the silhouette times, but we didn't have uh the name for him yet. Right. We had played around with some names, and in fact, uh the character Jasmine, who is Krim's counterpart, Krim is her imaginary friend. She was originally going to be a male character, so the character has actually gone through a lot of changes. He appeared in the first Lost Pages and the second Lost Pages. The third one was all about Krim and Jazz, and we just fulfilled that this past February. And now we're doing the crossover Psycho Slumber, which is taking those characters into a more horror genre. So you can see there, um,
Yeah.
teaming up with this other amazing comic called The Kill Journal. So if you guys love slashers, 1980s slasher films and superhero stuff, this is the perfect book for you.
Yeah, the killer has a concrete saw.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We wanted to make him very unique. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
said it earlier, like those character silhouettes. That's important to
Mm-hmm.
us. and having a striking visual for a character. I love character design. I love,
Mm.
I'm imagining characters and creating them. So when we were able to come up with a new slasher, that had a lot of fun with that. So Simon is kind of like our dreamscape killer. He goes into your nightmares.
And then next to it, I see the new Western that you're coming up with for
Yes,
2025. Looks like it's going to have spiders in it. That's going to be cool.
I can't wait to dive more into that. Yeah, I've been working on this for over a year now, and probably had the idea for much longer than that. But I love westerns, spaghetti westerns, and this
Hmm.
one has a pretty rad fantasy twist on it. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I'm working with Oliver Isabedra on that. Phenomenal artist and someone that has just been such a joy to collab with on that project. So we're getting I think one more page and we're gonna have the preview issue of that totally done. So that'll drop early next year.
Go. And so the Zaid Art Shop, that's your brother's work, or?
Yeah, he does a bunch of awesome pinup babes up there. Very 80s, definitely goes with Magic Cop and loves the beach babes and stuff. So he actually has an art book on here, which he calls the Butt Book. So you guys can check that out. And as well as we have the CG Vacation pinup book on there as well, which was freaking awesome. I had such a blast putting that together. And there's Magic Cop. Look at that.
Yeah. Oh, so they can see a few pages.
Oh yeah, this
So
is on Global Comics, which
yeah,
is an awesome site.
which they just promoted to your guys's comics, right?
Awesome. Yeah, this is you guys could go to our Global Comics page and read it's probably like 10 or more pages of each of our books for free if you don't subscribe to Global Comics yet. But it's so cool. Like once you do subscribe, you get like access to 60,000 comics. They just got DC on there. They have a bunch of Dark Horse stuff as well. And yeah, it's really cool. Even formatting it is fun. And going through, you can either scroll through or you can go panel by panel. It's really
Yeah.
rad.
So I saw that Blue Tiger was in the grouping with the Magic Cop and Lost Pages,
Yeah,
but
this is our buddy's book. Matt Fowler does a book called Tiger Blue. It's super cool if you guys are into martial arts and manga. It has a really cool like World War II mafia twist on it as well. He has two volumes of this out, and we have the first one up on Global Comics. Amazing art by Jose Garcia. It's just really rad. The grayscale stuff he does on this is so cool.
let's see if it'll load on this one. So, when did you start writing?
Oh man. I guess like really started writing was in high school and probably specifically uh for the silhouette. Yeah, always enjoyed short stories and dabbling in like poetry and stuff like that because I'm very inspired by like short stories in general. Like Edgar Allan Poe, I love his his stories and
Oh, yeah.
storytelling and the way he uses alliteration and in the poems. Like I love the rhythmic rhyme of storytelling and poetry. So I try to incorporate that.
If you like rhythmic line and storytelling, you might like this movie.
That I don't I feel like I've seen that.
Yeah, it was free on like Tubi, but it
Yeah.
has kind of like a storybook feel to it.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Mhm. And then there's some cool artwork in it too.
Sweet.
Uh,
Yeah, this is the first silhouette story we crowdfunded.
mhm.
Maxi Gallo was so cool to work with. He's got this really gritty, scratchy feel and brought the vibe that I really wanted to the character.
So, is the world kind of based on? where you live, Chicago.
I definitely try to make the city, especially in the silhouette stories, like a character, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of stories in the Lost Pages that are based in Chicago. You know, the silhouette is like that's his home base. You
Mm-hmm.
know, he's a specter, basically, vigilante ghost that doesn't remember his past, but is compelled to serve out justice and is kind of like the judge of the streets here. And through the narration that the silhouette, you know, what he's thinking, I really wanted to convey how he feels about the city. You know, he sees it in black and white, and that's how he sees justice as well. So having that that drastic black and white feel in his stories was important.
Yeah. And then,
This is
so
some
this
great. This is from Lost Pages 3.
kind of has like a Spider-Man feel, but a
Yeah,
villain.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
With man, Lost Pages 3. I worked with Ricardo Jamie on it, and he totally brought that comic booky superhero feel to the arts. I mean, look at that. It's and then the
yeah.
colors. My boy Eugene, who does the colors, knocked it out of the park. Like I was so happy to see this book come together and just even go further into that hero realm and just let the imagination run wild.
Yeah. The picture of like from the Lost Pages where it shows all the characters does kind of remind me of like the X Factor and stuff from the Image guys.
For sure, yeah. We definitely wanted a feel, you know, when you especially because we did that with the Lost Pages tome cover with all those characters on it. I wanted to have it feel like Kingdom Come with all the characters lined up,
Mhm.
you know. So when someone looks at that, they could expect some superhero stuff.
Yeah, and then you've inspired a couple characters. Well, one was an accidental inspiration with the Aaron Lepresti making or the Astro chip look like him.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, Aaron's awesome. I can't wait
Yeah,
to get my Kit Carter too. It's on its way.
yeah, I already got mine.
Oh, I'm jealous.
It's a good one. And then Kelsey Shannon said that he based his human character of Shank off.
I know. I
I,
was so flattered because I love that character. Like his Shank design is so badass.
yeah.
I've talked to him a bunch about the character and the story as well.
Mhm.
And I can't wait for him to get that book out because he's got a really, really rad story. But yeah, it was so cool to see that character Hank. It's a perfect name
Yeah.
for him.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to too, is that Shank and then the Western one that you're coming out with. Looks
Oh,
pretty
thank you.
rad.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can't wait. Yeah, we have a lot of stuff, and it's awesome, you know, doing crowdfunding,
Mhm.
be able to get these projects out here and work with amazing artists. Like
Mhm.
it's so it's been awesome. And just to see even this art here, you know, the moments we were able to make together, Ricardo and I in the Lost Pages 3, working with Dan Dahl, who does this amazing art for our series for the people. So cool. We're putting those out in ash cans, and it's just awesome to rub elbows with this kind of talent and create new stories.
So the people, is that another story that originated from the silhouette, or is that it's a standalone?
Yeah, so he's part of the Lost Pages as well. He's one of the newer characters. I think we came up with him after we did Magic Cop 1.
Oh,
And he is a more of a grounded vigilante. He's human. He doesn't have any powers or anything. He's a courtroom sketch artist by day, and then by night he goes out and serves justice. Very patriotic, very like Daredevil style character, Casey Jones style character, and has that code where he doesn't kill people.
okay.
But you know, it was a story that Dan and I were able to tell and really scratch our itch to do something in the vein of like a Frank Miller story. Um, and I think Dan just totally knocked it out of the park. I can't wait till we finish that mini series and then we're able to collect it and put it all together in a colored format.
Well, this is more of the silhouette, but these are some
Yes.
nice pages.
Yeah, this is I posted this because I wanted to show the layouts versus the final page. So for the Lost Pages 2, um we actually had Alan Alonso, who we work with a bunch. He does a lot of our logos. He's the artist on the Masquerade, and he's just an amazing graphic designer and does some of the best layouts that I've seen. So for Lost Pages 2, for the silhouette story, he laid out the whole book, and Maxi went off of those layouts to do his final pieces. So Alan would lay it out digitally, do a quick layout, which I mean, like what you're seeing there on the left is the layout, and that's like you could publish that by itself. It's a more cartoony style.
Mhm.
And then Maxi would come in and add his flair and grit, the zip tones to it, and it just turned out so cool. I just love the atmosphere of those pages.
Yeah, so you mentioned oh, it's escaping me now. The Masquerade, that's it.
Yeah.
So that storyline, was that also part of the Lost Pages or
Yes. Yeah. The Masquerade is a very important character in the Lost Pages series. He was actually um, one of those old characters that we always wanted the Silhouette to interact with. And the original name for him was Man of Disguises before we thought of the Masquerade. But he's, I mean, so fun to write. He speaks in Shakespearean talk, like iambic pentameter, to mock his enemies, and he's just full on pulp hero, like the Phantom or the Shadow. He kills people. He, you don't really know why he's doing these things, and once we get deeper into the series, there's going to be a lot to learn about him.
cool? And then so what was the source of inspiration for all these characters?
Just everything I love. I mean,
Mhm.
you look at a character
Yeah.
like the Silhouette, there's so many influences in that character. Or I mean the Masquerade as well. My love for pulp and poetry and Edgar Allan Poe and all this old school stuff that really inspired me and motivated me to want to create stories. That's what I'm really pulling from. Uh, the bombasticness of characters like the Mask or Lobo, and having the different shades of characters in one world and one story. I wanted something that fans of the things I'm fans of would latch on to, and if you don't like one character, there's going to be something else I think in the series that you will like.
So having a variety to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the X-Men where there's like all the different characters that had like so you're not just stuck with one character.
Right. I mean, that's why I gravitated so much to the X-Men animated series,
Hmm.
the variety of personalities, abilities, uh, designs as well. That I think that's really important in capturing an audience.
Yeah. And the cover for We the sorry, the People.
Yeah,
And is
that's
that
issue 2. Yeah.
and that's Silhouette and then
Yeah.
him?
Yeah, in issue 2, we see the Silhouette and the People clash.
Mm, that'll be fun.
Yeah, that's a good time.
And then writing wise, do you usually write in silence so you can focus or do you put music on for in to catch a mood?
Yeah, I definitely music. I mean, it's harder to write when you're listening to people talk, like if you have a stream on or a show or something. But I think music, especially once you get into the groove of it, can really amplify your creativeness when you're writing. So, depending on what type of story or character I'm writing, I'll put something that complements that musically.
And then, so do you work full time at the arcade and then have your podcast too, or
Yeah, I'm at I'm usually in like the productions area of the arcade, which is a couple blocks down from it. Um, but yeah, I'm there full time. So I'm there Monday through Friday. Sometimes I'll pick up some shifts on the weekends. And then yeah, we do our streams uh Fridays at the studio, which is at my office area. And then, I'll stream from here as well a couple times a week.
okay. And then like the stream on Monday is Hardline and then
Mhm.
what I don't remember that. Then
Yeah,
you
we
have
do
this
Hardlines Mondays, Diaz Brothers show on Fridays with just my brother.
right.
And then we do the Creative Block, which is a rotating show between my channel, Irene Strakowski's Hyper Wizards, and Narwhal. So this week we're actually doing it's on my so we got Halloween night. It's gonna be on my channel. So everybody
Nice.
better dress up. All right.
So you have your costume picked out already?
Not quite. I think I'm gonna paint my face or something. Have my
Uh,
girlfriend paint my face.
that'd be fun. Do like a goat face or
Yeah.
you could go as Merv.
Oh yeah, I did that a couple of years ago. I dressed up as Marv and my girlfriend was Goldie. So it was
That's
awesome.
fun.
I've been wanting to do the crow.
Mm. Yeah, that would be a good one.
Yeah. Grow my hair out a little bit longer though.
Eh, or extensions.
Yeah.
So, and then how did you wind up meeting the creative block and Aaron Lopresti? Was it just cons or just through the internet?
No, through crowdfunding, YouTube shows. We actually, I mean, I haven't met Aaron in real life, but I've met Irene a couple times. Narwhal pair, I met him in Tampa, which was awesome. Jake Hyper Wizard in Tampa as well, and yeah, it's just so cool. It's great to meet people that are trying to have the same goals as you want to create
Yeah,
stories, get their stuff out, build an audience, and just inspire other potential creators through storytelling and tell these stories that are in our head that we have to
yeah,
get out somehow. So it's
to
been awesome.
express. I
Yeah,
met,
and like running stuff past them too, other quality creators. Like, it's awesome that I could jump on a stream with Aaron or have
Mhm.
him um on my channel to promote his stuff. And like it's so valuable to have to be around people like that, that you can learn from.
Not to make you jealous, but I did meet Aaron live. He drew this for me.
Really? Oh,
Yep, that's my character from uh
jealous.
from a comic that I'm working on. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I met him at SummerCon. That's
I,
in
I
Washington
am
State.
jealous now.
Yeah, I also got a garbage man from him.
Garbage Man's awesome. I
Yeah, he
loved
is.
I love Wraith of God. I mean, I think that's one of my favorite new series right now. It's
Yeah,
really, really cool.
it's my favorite too. Kit Carter's good. His book Power Cube is good too.
I haven't checked that one out yet.
Yeah, it's funny. But yeah. So, are you a morning writer, evening writer, or do you just kind
Um
of write throughout the day?
I've never I don't know any morning writers. Is that a thing? I'm yeah, usually evening, late at night, or sometimes it just, the spark hits and um it works out like that. but yeah, usually in the evening.
Yeah. Morning rider.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I usually get up very early because I do
I
have
do
a
not.
I do have still work in retail right now, but sometimes work the morning shift, so I get up sometimes around 3 o'clock and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So just part of the routine by now. And then so you on your show, I know Aaron was surprised about the bonks. Well, what
Yeah.
started that? When people send in a super chat, you do
Yeah.
a bonk.
I think it's just seeing the bonk meme with your little the the dog. And it's like, oh, we have to do we have to add this to the stream because it's hilarious. So it's just a tradition now. So you send any super chats, you get bonks. You know, it's our thanks. You know, we gotta thank you.
Mhm. You think you'd use it like Aaron does the cannonballs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, his cannonballs are hilarious.
Yeah. Or the nuke. Have you seen it when he uses the nuke?
I I think so.
But something to think about adding to the show.
Yeah.
And then
Cool.
so then you have Gambit News, which is because your favorite character is Gambit, but is there a specific reason why that started or
It's most of the things I do on my show is to annoy people in the chat. So
Mhm.
if they don't like something, I usually latch onto that and then keep doing it. So it's probably not the best thing to do, but it's it's endearing. I think
well,
some
you still
quality.
have an audience, so you're supposed to be doing something right.
Yeah.
Haven't chased people away. And then yeah, and then your brother has the floor trivia right now.
Yeah, he's obsessed with the floor.
Mhm.
I never seen it.
Me neither.
I refuse to watch it on principle.
Yeah, same here.
Good.
Usually when things are popular, I wait till it cools off.
Yeah. Look at that. So cool.
Yep, that's a cool shirt.
Yeah,
So,
we did that for the Lost Pages 2, but we have them available on our site as well. So if you guys are interested in our characters, check out the apparel and represent.
so are you still going to college or are you finished with school for now?
No, yeah, I've been full time at the arcade for a while and then just doing comics as well, you know. So that takes up a lot of time. Day job, YouTube, writing, publishing, printing, crowdfunding. It's crazy.
And then do you have any goals for your writing, like long-term goals, or is it just to write the stories you want to create?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's crazy like balancing stories because the Lost Pages this arc has like a 6 book arc. So right now we just did the third and then the next one will be fourth. We're kind of like focusing in on each character. So the next one is about a character or sorcerer character named Wildcard. And then number 5 is about Masquerade, as you see there, by the amazing Kenneth Rocafort. Did that sketch card. Insane.
Yes.
So beautiful. Um, and then the sixth, which might be 2 parts actually, is all the characters coming together, meeting uh common enemy type thing, more like a an
Oh,
event that I
so this
wanted.
is wild card.
Yeah, there's Wildcard. He's freaking awesome. So he's in the first book and our Myths of the Lost Pages supplemental book, which is all collected in our Lost Pages tome. Um so yeah, that like definitely to wrap these stories up, there's still a lot to tell with this. So, I mean, right now we're focusing on the stories we have, Lost Pages, Magic Cop, who and the Western thing is very much like a selfish thing on my end where it's like, oh, I really want to get this out. I have this in my mind. I need to see it,
Yeah.
conceptualized. And then I started writing stories about it. And sometimes you
Mhm.
just get bit with that bug, even if it's not the
Yeah.
best time to be working on it. But that's where I am right now.
It's
And
de
I'm just super excited about that.
it's definitely hard not to get distracted by ideas,
Yeah.
especially if you have like a lot of stories
Yeah,
and
for
staying
sure.
focused is definitely something that's hard to do.
Yeah, you,
It's
you
def
have to like put your put yourself give yourself some shackles to some of this stuff and be like, you can't get distracted.
Yeah, it was like once you finish this story, then you can do others.
Right, right.
Yeah. So this is the hobo that finds the lost pages. And so
Yes,
was
he's the one that has him, that has the lost pages in his possession. He tells the tales as well.
and was he based on Louis or did Louis come later?
Yeah, I think Louis is just part of my imagination, and I thought him up of the hobo. Uh, no, this was actually it's funny because the hobo didn't exist when we did the old silhouette books. When we crowdfunded Magic Cop, and we're like, okay, we're able to do this and publish books and stuff. I want to bring back the silhouette and all those characters. Uh, but how do we do that? Because if we do a silhouette book, then I need to find a way to put, a wild card in it and the masquerade. And if we just do single books for all of them, then that's going to take a long time. It's going to be more expensive on our end. And we want to find a way to introduce those main characters to an audience all at once. So we did the Lost Pages, and we needed a character that basically would tell these tales to the fictional other homeless people that are passing by him and the audience. So came up with the hobo. And once we had the title of the Lost Pages, I thought of actually making that a physical item in the world. So he has this huge, you know, tome of stories that have been around forever that maybe only a few people know, but he's basically the keeper of those stories, and
Yeah.
has become a big part of the series.
So yeah, it's kind of like the condensed version of what some of the other comic creators are doing, like Graham Nolan and Aaron Lopresti with doing their universes.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. We kind of like Tetris the stories together and packaged them in that first volume to introduce the audience to them. And now, as the volumes go on, we're kind of hyper focusing in on those characters in attempts to make a connection with the audience. So you now, if you've read number two, you know more about the silhouette. And then three is focuses on Crimstone, but you still get glimpses of some of those other characters and where things are going. I think it's worked out so far to grab the attention of a reader base and flesh out these characters.
So, and then Magic Cop is separate, or is he in the same universe?
No, Magic Cop's totally separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so is the Western?
Yes.
Okay. And do you think you'll eventually tie them in, or they'll just remain their separate worlds?
I'm not yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say never, but I just right now don't see a reason to. I mean, obviously it's comics, so you could really do whatever.
Yeah.
But right now, I know the end spots of these arcs, so I'm just trying to get to those points right now.
Yeah. I don't blame you if you don't connect them, because I don't plan on connecting my stories either.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes things just need to remain.
Hmm.
But uh, let's continue. And then, so how did the crossover wound up happening with the Psycho Slumberland.
Yeah. So Adam Lawson is a buddy of mine, and I'm a fan of his work. He's a fan of mine, and he just hit me up and he wanted to do a crossover, a horror crossover with uh, the Lost Pages, any of the characters from there. And so I thought it was a great idea. I really dig the Kill Journal, which is his series. And once we figured out that Crimstone is going to be the character that's from the Lost Pages in the book, I thought it was a no brainer to have a slasher character like Freddy Krueger that would go into your dreams, because
Hmm.
Krim is imaginary. He lives in Jasmine's mind, and he could step out sometimes into reality for a little bit, but that's where he's his most powerful is inside of the imaginary world. So having this dreamscape to play in, where you have this very powerful killer that is running around in your dreams and in your head, who could do anything, going up against this hulking imaginary friend that his powers are on par of someone like Simon, who's the killer. That was just made for an awesome awesome time, and really had fun playing around in that dream world. And then also Psycho Slumber, I thought it was a cool title. So
Yeah, a little bit of a borrow from Little Nemo and Slumberland, but it's just if he had a nightmare, right?
for sure.
But that and Freddy Krueger a little bit. Mm,
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, we made the especially for his design, we really wanted to set him apart from a character like Freddy, giving him the weapon,
hmm
having, his hair, crazy hair, and what he does in the comic too, like and what he's able to do is very unique to him, I think.
yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
And it's a smart way to do the crossover without having portals or dimensions stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's just like they run into each other. And in fact, what we do in before you get into the meat of the story, I had the two like patriarchal figures of each universe meet. So Saint George is the priest from the Kill Journal, and we have the hobo, and they actually meet at the beginning of the story. And
Okay.
it's kind of perfect because both of them carry around this book that is very important to them. You have the lost pages for the hobo, and St. George carries around this journal where he writes down all of their documents of these revenant slasher killers. So it worked together just like a perfect puzzle, I think.
Yeah, I would concur. And then, is there a picture of the Reverend over here, or
Um, yeah, that one to the left there, that on that sketch card, that center sketch card is St. George right
oh,
there in
okay.
front of Grim.
That way people can see the
Mm-hmm.
character. Is
Yeah.
there a close up?
Actually, if you go to our global comics page, we have the preview issue for Psycho Slumber up.
Or,
So if you click on Zaidcomics there on the left, I think that works. Right up there you go. Yeah, and then scroll down, and you'll find that one right there, Psycho Slumber preview. And this is actually the first 10 pages free, so
oh wow.
you get a glimpse at the story. There's the hobo and the priest St. George. There they are. There's the book. Yeah, we actually did a preview issue, which is this in black and white, and we sold it on our site. We want to do something similar with the Western book when we put that out. So you could have something that's a little more exclusive, maybe do like a cool foil cover, have them numbered, um, low print run for like people that are really excited about it to get in early. So that's what we did. There's Jazz, and the intro to this story is like how they Jasmine and Krim meet up with some of the survivors. Is they're chasing down this guy who just robbed a pharmacy, and he stole pills to stay awake because he's been up for 3 days. So if
Mm.
he falls asleep, he's afraid that Simon's going to kill him. So he's just wigged out of his mind, and he thinks he's seeing things. He thinks he sees Krim, and that's where that preview ends. But they run into Marty and Finch, who are, part of the Kill Journal survivors, and they give them the rundown, and they have to reluctantly team up to stop Simon, the psychopath.
Yeah, and did you pick the name Simon because of the game Simon Says? So you could play on that.
Maybe that might be played on a bit in this story. We'd have to wait to see.
Yeah, tell it's out. So the preview's free, but do you have like the whole comic available for sale on Global Comics, like the PDF versions, or
Not yet. I'm sure we will down the line. We do have a digital copy available on the crowdfunding campaign. So on Indiegogo, you can get this digitally, any of our previous books digitally on there as well. But right now, the art is complete. We just are getting it colored.
oh,
So I think
okay.
we have 27 pages colored so far, and a good
Yeah.
bulk of those are lettered as well. So
Yeah.
I'm getting the colors in all the time.
So who's doing the coloring on this one?
Uh, Same colorist that's done our previous Lost Pages books, Eugene Bativu. He did all of Magic Hop. He did all of Lost Pages 3. So he's our boy. I love working with him, and he just adapts so well to every artist that he colors. He's amazing.
And then who's doing the lettering?
I'm doing the lettering.
Okay. So, when you do lettering, are you doing it digitally with like fonts, or are you drawing it out, writing it out?
It's digitally with fonts, and sometimes I'll adjust them, especially for sound effects and stuff like that. For Crim's font, I actually made myself, and yeah, but lettering is so cool. Like if you are a writer and you feel like you need to contribute more to the project, I would suggest learning the letter because it really helps during the editing process. And the letterer is basically the final pass creatively before you get to like an editor or doing like setting up for print, print files and stuff like that. So as a writer, you could change things on the fly, and you don't have to, send someone $10 to change something, you know.
Yeah. If you
Um,
see it's not working, size wise,
yeah,
you can change it. And
for
then,
sure.
I know it's m more for like if you're handwriting your fonts, but doing the fonts first, writing it out first, the dialogue, and then putting the bubble around it. Do you use that te technique?
Um, like putting the letters down and then putting the balloon around it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's what I normally do. I'll put that down. There's a bunch of different types of ways you could do it. I use Clip Studio, which used to be Manga Studio, and they're super user friendly for lettering. So you could actually just make a text box um, that will, and then type in there, and then that'll keep your parameters in that boxed area. Of course, you could change that on the fly, and then you could put the balloon around that. But yeah, actually, that's what I've been doing lately. I've been using text box stuff.
Yeah, and it looks like you know how to flow your dialogue pretty well to keep
I
it.
try it. I
Oh,
mean, yeah, that's just another way you could manipulate the reader's eye, right?
mhm.
Is panel layouts, art, eyes of characters, arms of characters, and then lettering as well,
Mhm.
helps control the movement of your reader's eye.
And so the Lost Pages has an eye because it's he's omnipotent, so he sees all.
No, so that's actually, if you go to the previous page,
Oh,
you'll see the lost pages, which it has the LP logo on it. Uh,
okay.
and so St. George here, um,
Oh yeah.
the hobo's talking about stories and how he loves stories and how he's been reading some of St. George's stories, and he goes to reach for his book, which he keeps in his jacket, and he realizes it's gone, and the hobo has it. So that's actually
Mhm.
on the Kill Journal. That's the Kill Journal book. It'll
Oh,
be
okay.
more noticeable when it's colored because the Kill Journal's red. The Lost Pages is brown leather book.
Mhm.
So yeah, that changes, and he's like, "Where'd you get that?" It's like, "Give that back to me." And he's like, "I've read your stories. I love your stories." It's like, "They're not stories. They actually happen." It's like, "Who are you, crazy old man? Give me my book back."
Yeah.
And that's basically how we get into the story, because you see there's he notices an unfinished passage in the Kill Journal, which is an unsolved revenant and an unkilled revenant that they're hunting down. And he's like, "I know the two people that would be perfect to help you finish this story."
That's clever putting the
Credits there.
writer. Yeah.
Thanks. Fun. Yeah, I love doing that. I love trying to make unique title pages,
Hmm.
and putting um, the credits and titles somewhere unique in the Lost Pages 2. Oh no, 3. I did it on. Let's see here. I did it on like a newspaper that was floating in the sky. Here, you can see this.
Oh, let me
Where is it? Is it here? Put the credits on this piece of paper that is just flying up because they're fighting in like a newspaper press. So we put the title and credits right there.
nice. And so, were you inspired by like older comics, or were you more of a 90s kid where you stuck with like what was popular in that time frame or
No, I was never like an Image Comics kid. Like I never was into like Youngblood or Wildcats. Um, I mean, my first exposure to Spawn was the film.
Mhm.
But when I
Same
got into
here.
comics, yeah, when I got into comics, I was read a bunch of Batman stuff first, like the Essential Batman stuff. Really got into Saga of Swamp Thing. So I guess like a mid to late '80s vibe is what I was digging. I loved Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol, which is the Vertigo series, like that very over the top man thing. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. I'm a Swamp Thing guy, okay?
Yeah.
But I
So,
like that psychedelic like into your mind type of stuff. Like that Vertigo was putting out, at that peak Vertigo time.
well, part of it is I like Man-Thing's design.
Yeah.
I think they could have made his character a little bit stronger in some ways. But like I don't like the second person writing style that they use in like the narration.
Yeah.
But I like some of the stories that they have him go through
Hmm.
because it's some kind of supernatural stuff.
For
It's
sure. Yeah.
interesting. And then some of them have like little moral endings to it. Like there's one where it has to do with the bus was ran off the road by a drunk driver, and then he gets killed and he lands on a pile of bottles. So that's kind of cool. But that I actually got into Man Thing from the movie that they had from in like 2005, cheesy B flick, but the design of the character was cool.
Oh yeah, I never seen that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that was a thing.
Yeah, they changed his power. They made it where he could like control vines and stuff, and he was more of
Oh yeah.
a villain in it. Um, so like uh he was going after these oil tycoons and he was like have like the vines grow through him and stuff like that. So yeah,
See that.
but so you're much more into like the 80s, which is kind of funny because your work kind of has like a little bit of like the grunge feel of like the 90s and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I love the storytelling of the 80s. I think some of the best everything came out in the 80s. TV, music, comics. Uh and as I get older, I've definitely dabbled in the 90s storytelling because Primstone's a very 90s style character. He's a
Yeah.
character that's reflects that era and over the top. That's like my love for Lobo. That is for sure solidified in a 90s style character. But as I get older, going back even more and recognizing the difference between the storytellings of those decades and understanding that a lot of my fan base loves that 90s in your face storytelling, but knowing the difference and the strengths between that and the strengths of a more classic, maybe 70s or 80s style type of sequential storytelling and
Mhm.
how important that still is. Um, looking at like Chris Claremont's X-Men and how he's able to build up to a big moment utilizing panel grids and whether that be a 6 9 or 12 panel grid and that that has huge benefits to it and having that in your tool set to set your stuff apart from another creator or uh, I think that's really important. And
Mhm.
I think the in your face action of the 90s could wear on a story if you do
Yeah.
it too much.
Yeah, you gotta save it for like the big moments
For sure.
to
Yeah, you need the balance. You need those highs and lows of a story in every aspect, in the art, in the storytelling, in the writing. Using those tools working together is how you're going to create the most contrast and the most impact.
yeah. So when you are writing your character's dialogue, how did what are your techniques to capturing different characters?
So it is it's interesting because characters like the Silhouette and a lot of the characters in the Lost Pages I've been writing for years, even before I published them. So I'd say the more time you spend with your character, the more you know them, and the more time you spend working on them, writing them, you gradually will build a voice, and you want those distinct voices, right?
Hmm.
That's why when I first started crowdfunding, people would ask me, "What's your advice for writers, up and coming writers?" Like if you and it would always be like if you have an idea, work with it and get to know the idea and the world and the characters before you rush it out and publish it and get it out there. But now I think there's ways to kind of speed that process up. So for this Western, I actually created a I guess timeline for the world
Hmm.
and trying to be like very organized about it before I get into like deep story arcs. And I use this site called World Anvil, which is a like a Dungeons and Dragons tabletop um, dungeon master site where you could create characters and character profiles. You could upload your images in there, and they have a timeline tool, which really helped me map out the story arcs and the life of this character I'm working on for my Western series. So that was actually helpful. I find myself, even though the character's been around for only maybe like 2 years, in my head, I feel like I have a much better grasp on the characters, even though they're so young to me. Um,
And do you think
so I think
that's
that's a lot.
also partly because you've been gaining experience through writing other characters, so you're getting more familiar with
Sure.
people, you know?
Uh, yeah, I mean, you're always going to progress when you're working towards progression. I think,
Hmm.
and that's the important thing is to progress to the next level, hit your goals, and keep setting more goals. So I think inherently, while doing the work, just like drawing, you're going to probably subconsciously pick up on stuff. But I think actively setting um, setting up to be organized is and prepared is the best thing for you.
And when you set out for writing your stories, do you start with plotting it out, or do you just start with um, figuring out who the character is and then build the world around them? Or does it
Yeah,
vary?
I'm super like character heavy. Like that's the thing that um, drew me to comic books and stories. Our characters, like we talked about with the X-Men and how different they are from each other, their
Hmm.
abilities, their character designs. So everything I'm doing is like with character in mind, in the forefront of my mind.
Hmm.
So that's where I start, because that's what gets me excited about comics, the characters. So everything I have is conceived with character in mind
Yeah.
first. Then it's, where does this character, how did this character become this character? What happened in their life? What can we put them through? What's their goal? What they want ultimately? What gets in the way of that? How they overcome that, and then how they fail again. So that's
Hmm.
like those big things. And then again, comics for me and stories, uh, right behind character is scenes.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like how I plot stuff out of like, oh, this would be a scene. This would be a cool scene. How do I wrap that scene
Yeah.
into the theme of the character,
Hmm.
and so on and so forth. And then, of course, too, if I know I'm going to be working on a specific story, I want to make sure that I understand the ending of that story,
Hmm.
because once you know that, then you just have to figure out how to get there.
Yeah, it's the roadmap to,
Yeah.
and then I know a lot of people see their characters as their children, but do you have a favorite out of your characters? And which one do you think has been the favorite among fans?
It's so hard because I would feel like I would have a different answer at different times depending on what I'm working on, right? Uh, they all are just so exciting for me to work on and to see in people's hands. Um, and as I grow, like, there's those characters grow with me. There's different facets that keep changing as I get older, and that's in my head canon that eventually, hopefully, will get out to the public. But I mean, I just have so much fun with the Masquerade. He's such a fun character to play around with and write. In fact, we do on our YouTube channel, if people are into the Masquerade and want more content with him, Alan and I have been doing a comic strip series for our channel members. So if you sign up and become a channel, it's a second tier channel member on Zaidcomics, you could read the comic strip of the Masquerade, which explores more of the character, and it's in comic strip style too. It's like an old Dick Tracy or the Phantom strip. So I had a lot of fun with that. But I think like it seems like a lot of people um like the Masquerade as well. Like it's either like Crimstone or the Masquerade between uh in the Lost Pages series or the Silhouette. I know a lot of people say a lot of different things, but I think after the the first book, what I hear a lot is they're surprised that their favorite was Crimstone. So that's really cool.
Hmm. And then is it a monthly or weekly comic strip that you're doing or
It's however much we could put out a year. So I think we have, let me check how many we have up here because I do have
do you think you'll ever collect them into a volume?
definitely, yeah. So that's what we're trying to do. So we have, what is that? 9 right now.
Yeah.
So each strip is 2 pages. So it's a
Okay.
panel page and then a splash page. So um yeah, 9 in total right now. I would love to collect them because they're landscape format,
Mm.
like a strip would be in a newspaper. So I would like if I could collect them in and print them landscape style, like that. That would be really cool. Be
I
super
have
fun.
a comic like that.
I know Graham Nolan did um the Phantom comic strips,
Yeah. And
and they printed like that.
he did the Phantom in Roy M.D. Think I'm and then he also has the Sunny State,
That's right. Yeah,
which I think those you can find on his the Sunny State at least you can find on his website.
that's right.
But that'd be pretty cool. So with it being a comics strip, is it a gag format or is it a serious story? So I think that more like a serial.
Yeah, it's definitely more serialized. It's basically the Masquerade. His girlfriend gets kidnapped by a crazy big band robot um, named Boss Brass, and the Masquerade needs to find out who created this robot, why they want to take his lounge singing babe of a girlfriend, and yeah, the rest is going to be a lot of action in it. So it's interrogating people, it's tracking down things, and it's a lot of fun. Super cool.
And so does it have a particular era it's supposed to be taking place in, or is it
Yeah. Yeah. So the
there?
Masquerade takes place in like the 1930s. So he's
Okay.
definitely more of like a pulp hero from back then.
And then Prim, would that be more present day? And then
Mhm. Yeah.
the silhouette, would that what
He's
era
modern
would
day as well.
modern day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean the Masquerade can't show up in modern day. In fact, he does in the series.
Okay. Oh, if he has like a supernatural thing to him, then
Yeah.
anything's possible.
He might.
And genre wise, are you well, you do a lot of superheroes with like the silhouette, the
Mhm.
people, uh Crimstone's kind of I guess he would kind of be superhero, monster superhero.
Mhm.
But do you have genres that you lean towards more so?
Um, I mean, I mean, for sure, the Lost Pages is our like our superhero title. Magic Cop is obviously more 80s crime, serialization. There's a lot of magic in there as well. But I love stepping out of my comfort zone to write different kinds of stories. I was hired to write a prose story um, in a magazine called Tales of Nova Terra, and it's based in this fantasy world, and it's a horror story about like a kid that is running a a shop in like an old timey town, in a fantasy world. So that was out of my comfort zone. That was a lot of fun to do. That was came out I think last year, and also yeah, I just love trying to get into different moods and atmospheres for writing.
Yeah. And so, I know you do a lot of comics, but and you were hired to do the prose, but do you do other prose writing or?
I think that was the first one I did. I've written an article before, but yeah, I just stick to comedy. I used to write a lot of poetry and stuff, but I feel like that, like I could just integrate into my comic writing. Like in the Lost Pages one, there's the wild card section is set to a poem that I wrote about sirens from Greek mythology. So and also in the people, there's actually a prose story that I wrote for a college class that I put into the people story. So
Okay. So the sirens, did you go with the classic Greek version where they are women women birds, or did you go with like the more modern take where they're
yes,
mermaids?
I did the birds. No, because I know my mythology. All right. All you people that think they're mermaids, they're not. They're freak bird ladies. All right.
Mhm. You're
That
like a
were
relative to the harpy.
right. They were if if I'm if I have my myths correct, they were turned into birds. They're sisters that were friends of Persephone, and they were punished by Demeter because they didn't look after Persephone when she got taken down to Hades, and they were turned into these hideous birds. And yeah, and so they try to crash the boats passers by, and they feed on the shipwrecked sailors.
See, I didn't know that part. I knew that they were the birds. I just didn't know the origin of it.
Yeah, there's only a few of them. I think there's three Siren sisters, and they're
Mm.
Persephone's friends, best friends.
I'll have to look into the story.
I just take my
Like,
word for it. I'm probably
yeah,
right.
will do. Like, like I've taken some classes on like Greek mythology and stuff like that, and like, there was one called is writing myths for the modern world. So we look at old myths and see how they connect and stuff.
Sure.
And one of the ones that you can see a lot of similarities to is the story of Cupid and Psyche, which is also reminiscent. Beauty and the Beast is also a similar story to it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that one is sh Psyche is very beautiful, can't get married off, so she is left to die, but Cupid falls in love with her, so he rescues her, but his mother didn't like her, so
Hmm.
he has to keep her from seeing him.
Mm-hmm.
So his mother doesn't know. Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I love mythology. I took a mythology class in college as well, and it had such an influence on me. Just realizing all these different stories from different cultures, the similarities between them,
Hmm.
and it just fascinated me. So wild card is a interacts with a lot of myth. I don't know if you could see behind me this big poster. That's actually wild card and the sirens. that he has shackled.
Okay.
It might be difficult to see, but that's
Yeah.
yeah. So
And I don't know how to enlarge the
articulate it.
frame for you.
Okay.
I know how to
Um,
do it for me, but I don't know how
sure.
to do it for you guys. I mean, I guess I could make you the host, but then I'd lose the ability to share the screen.
No, but I love mythology. It's one of my
Mhm.
first storytelling loves.
Yeah, like I probably started like most people where I saw like the movies, like during the 90s, they had like some of the old movies, the Harryhausen movies.
Yeah, sure.
So like Clash of the Titans, and
Hmm.
so that's where it started. And then also like in elementary school, they also talked about some of the myths, like uh they would talk about like some of the Native American myths, like how Raven stole the sun and
Yeah, yeah.
Pandora's box and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
it's awesome for the young imagination.
yep. So you started writing in high school, you said?
Yeah.
Do you remember what you first wrote back then? Was it mostly poetry or?
Um yeah, it was probably mostly poetry. Late, probably like late high school years.
And then when did you make the jump into comics?
When we did that first silhouette stuff,
Okay.
back when I probably close to after high school, in 2011.
I should also ask, when did you start reading comics? Was that before
During
that?
yeah. So during my teenage years, I had a friend who I was in theater with, and he was a big comic guy. Like he had piles of bagged and boarded floppy comics in the trunk of his car. And he made the list of Batman books that I needed to go to the comic shop and buy and read, trades. Like it was around the time Brian Azzarello's Joker came out.
Mm.
So and around the time that the Dark Knight return Dark Knight film came out. So, Killing Joke, Joker, Batman Year One, you know, um, all that stuff I was just consuming. Um, and had a lot of time to catch up on. So started going to the comic shop a lot and consuming a lot of books.
And so, are you still reading modern comics from DC, or you've been mostly reading like the independent stuff?
I find it like hard to justify picking up floppies, you know.
Mm.
So if there's something that I like, I'll wait till it becomes a trade, and I'll pick up
Okay.
the collection of it. Uh, yeah. So, but I mean, I like the what I'm seeing from like Ghost Machine. I really like Geiger, the first installment of that. I thought that was really cool, and I love Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. I want to pick up what is that, Rook Exodus, when it comes out, because Jason Fabok is just such an amazing artist, and again Jeff Johns. Uh, but yeah, here and there, if I see something that piques my interest, I'll grab it. And what I have been reading is I just got into the old manga series Trigun,
Oh,
which
okay.
I saw the anime earlier this year, and Dark Horse is
Hmm.
putting out these big hardcovers, collected versions, and there's going to be like six of them or something. So I just read through the first two, and they were super entertaining. It's really, really good stuff.
So, did you ever get into any manga when you were in high school, or
No,
just now?
I was an avid um, anime and manga hater.
Mm.
So I always thought the art was very, I don't know, bland and without render and style. And it looked like to me that it all just kind of was one artist. It didn't seem like there was a difference between books.
Hmm.
And I mean, that was the ignorance to, the actual different types of books. Like you look at stuff like Vagabond, and it's super hyper detailed. Berserk, it's crazy, and even Trigun. But I what I do like about it, what I like about Trigun is the seriousness of the story and Nightow's ability to go from really cool shots, awesome fast paced action, and then throw in goofy stuff and dumb down his art style, for lack of a better term, to be more silly, to have a silly moment in there.
Mhm.
And it's actually a lot less silly than the anime is. They kind of turned that up for that, but I'm
Yeah,
enjoying it.
I might have to try that one because I watched the anime,
There it is.
although I never did see the last two episodes.
Well, that's interesting because I mean, the manga kept going after the anime stopped. So like it was only like 26 episodes or something like that.
Hmm.
It's like, but there's like volumes and volumes of it. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. And do you think you'll try to utilize that method of going from serious to comedic tones in your Western story or in any other story that you go to
I
try
don't
and
know.
do?
I feel like I don't. I feel like writing comedy is scary for me. I don't know if I do it well or if I can do it. I don't know if I should attempt it, but I do have
Mhm.
some more lighthearted characters that I plan to put in the Western, some supporting characters. Um, I don't know if I'll go to the extreme that something like Trigun or some mangas do, because it is in like the animes, if you're not used to that tonal shift, it could be very jarring to you,
Mhm.
you know, especially like the Western comic reader. Um, yeah, I don't know if that would be something I would try. Uh, just probably out of pure fear.
Well, you can always experiment with it, see what I think they say sometimes you have to push it to the breaking point on a pose before you find like the right spot.
Sure. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think that's also something that they do in animation is they'll push it to the point where it breaks
Yeah.
apart and then
Right.
reel it in.
Hmm.
So maybe try some test runs.
Yeah. We'll
See
put
how
it
it
out for
works.
test audiences will tell us.
Yeah, might be like the ash can thing. No,
Yeah.
but well, do you have anything you want to add before we close out? Or
No, thank you for having me. And I hope everybody checks out Psycho Slumber. It's going in demand on Indiegogo. And we are getting a awesome variant cover for when we launch it on some other platforms. The book is almost done. We're just working on colors right now, and then it'll have to be lettered, and we'll be able to get it off to the printer. So early next year, this is something that you guys will have and be able to read through 60 pages. And hope you guys come out and support it. Grab the previous books as well if you have not read the Lost Pages of the Kill Journal.
all right. Well, you're always welcome back if you want to come back to the show and
Thank you.
or if you just want to chat on the live stream.
Sweet.
But it was nice meeting you and nice talking to you. And take care. Have a happy Halloween.
Yes, you too. You too. I'm gonna
Thanks.
be streaming on Halloween, so
Mhm.
hope to see you guys.
I'll try to catch one.
Sweet.
But yeah. All right.